Hello, everyone, and welcome to another edition of 100 Yards of Football Sports Talk Radio. I'm your host and producer this evening, Logan Landers, and join me to talk an NCAA 2023 game preview week one. Yes, we finally made it, folks. It's the Georgia Tech Yellow Jackets going up against the Louisville Cardinals. It's my man, Mr. Football, Vincent Turner. How you doing today, sir?
How you doing this evening, Mr. Landers?
I am doing tremendous, Vincent. College football, the full slate of games finally taking place this weekend. A lot of football to watch. If you're working this weekend, hey, just get a radio nearby and listen to it. Like I said, if you're not, just sit on the couch, get you some nice food, and enjoy some of the highest quality competition you can find anywhere. This game is going to be taking place tomorrow night. That's Friday. Going to be September the 1st at 7:30 p.m. They're going to be at Georgia Tech, so I know the fans in Atlanta are going to be very happy. Start the year off, and a lot of hype around these teams in the ACC. We will see what they can do. But let's get into the keys. Who's going to win this game? How are they going to do it? Let's start off with the Louisville Cardinals. So last year, Louisville, they're bringing in a new guy here with Jack Plummer coming over from Purdue. Like I said, last year, then, of course, with Brom, of course, being their new coach there, helping out at Purdue. Like I said, 55 in the nation in total offense, 74 in scoring last year. I want to bring that over a little bit here in Louisville with offensive coordinator Brian Brom, that is. Last year, the Cardinals, 12th in ACC in passing, averaged around 200 yards per game, but it was just 96th in the nation in terms of efficiency. Jack Plummer, I know he is hoping to change that as soon as he can. Stands at 6'5", 215. He's a veteran, been around the league for a little bit, and he's hoping to get some good work in there. Also, the thing about this team, their wide receiver core, vets, it's pretty much all brand new. I mean, you're bringing in guys like Georgia State's Jamari Thrash. He's pretty experienced. I'm glad he's going to be playing against Georgia Tech, a rival, of course. Going to be doing some work over there. You're bringing in guys like Jaden Thompson from Cincinnati. Of course, Tennessee, you're picking up Jimmy Callaway, thrown into that rotation. Also, we all know with Brom, he loves to play with tight ends. And you're getting a good one, though. 6'5", 260, Jamari Johnson. He's going to be able to step in right away and help out this Louisville Cardinal offense. So at the running back position, you got Jawar Jordan and Maurice Turner putting in some work in the backfield. And up front, you got the big guys. You got a pretty good experienced roster all around. You got Brian Hudson, Michael Gonzalez, and Renato Brown to help this team. So I think that Louisville, like I said, you're getting a lot of brand new guys. You're getting a new left tackle and left guard as well with Eric Miller and John Paul Flores. Both those guys are going to be seniors as well. So you have a lot of experience on this team, but it's just a few bit of these guys that not played together for quite some time. So it's going to be interesting to see how they can do with a new coach, with a new quarterback. Like I said, last year they had a pretty solid season, 8-5 overall, 4-4 in the ACC. They beat Cincinnati to win the Fenway Bowl, and I'm excited to see what they can do. But flipping over to the defensive side of the ball, what can Louisville do to win? They have some good players as well over on that side. You've got guys like Aston Gillette at the defensive end position. You have some just absolute dogs. You got some new guys as well. Stephen Haran, he's a new player coming over. Keith Brown as well as that middle linebacker position. But you have a good mix, I think, of experienced guys and some new guys as well. TJ Quinn, the linebacker, is going to be a sophomore. I'm excited to see what he can do. Also, Benjamin Perry, another sophomore, going to be putting in some work. But also, you're getting over Storm Duck coming over from, I believe, North Carolina to help out that secondary back there to rock with Trey Franklin and, of course, Marquise Groves Killebrew. So I think that overall, I think this Louisville team, I'm excited to see what Jack Plummer can do. I think that they're coming in retooled. They got some good faces. The wide receiver core, I'm curious to see just that chemistry, how they're going to mesh with Plummer early on. It remains to be seen. But I think Louisville, they're setting themselves up for another pretty solid season overall. But Vince, I want to hear your thoughts. How's Louisville going to play in Week 1 against the Yellow Jackets?
I think when you look at Jeff Brom, he was at Purdue for 6 seasons, correct?
Mm-hmm.
And then he went back home. It's almost like the situation Penny Hardaway.
That's good one.
When coached the Memphis State Titans, coached the University of Memphis. Penny was a hometown hero. Jeff Brom played quarterback at Louisville at a high level in the early 90s. And let's be real, he done a real outstanding job at Purdue. He went 36-34, as I just mentioned, over 6 years there. Then he's bringing in a quarterback, Jake Plummer, who's known his system. Mr. Plummer was with him at Purdue for 4 seasons. Then Mr. Plummer went out to Cal, over 3,000 yards, 21 touchdowns, and 9 Ts. But what I'm looking for on Friday night is that I'm looking at the receiving core. Now, a lot of people don't understand, but he's bringing in some very talented transfers. Jimmy Callaway, that went up to the University of Tennessee, is a local guy. We're broadcasting out here out of Metro Atlanta area today. Jimmy Callaway out of the Clayton County area, played quarterback at Morrill High School. Logan, I seen this kid up close and personal. Let me tell you something. I don't know what happened over there at Tennessee, where they had some very talented other receiving guys. Jalen Hyde that went to the NFL, and my man, Mr. Cedric Tillman, who's playing with the Cleveland Browns. But this gentleman right here, remember this, he might be one of the breakout players this year at on a national level from the University of Louisville. Had some of the best feet I ever seen a high school football player have. Then Jamar Thrash, as you just mentioned, Georgia State. You got to think he's coming home playing against Georgia Tech because he might have been overlooked. And then you got Kevin Coleman out of Jackson State, who was a 4-star recruit, decided not to go out there at Colorado with Dion, ended up in Louisville. I expect the Louisville Cardinals are going to be very good on the offensive side of the ball. And as you just mentioned, Mr. Jordan is a potential 1,000-yard rusher. Now, defensively, they're going to get after Georgia Tech on Friday night. What I want to look at, they lost 3 players to the NFL, but a lot of people don't know how good Louisville was on the defensive side of the ball. They led the country with 50 sacks, 48 tackles for losses, forced 30 turnovers. 3 players that got drafted in the 2023 NFL draft that's going to be on NFL rosters starting next weekend. But they still got a quality player in Ashton Gillette, who last year had 6 sacks. But they're very strong in the secondary. Jarvis Brownlee, one of the top corners in the country, 66 tackles last year, 12 pass breakups, 2 INTs. Then they bring over Storm Duck from North Carolina. He's a player. Josh Minkins, Warriors, come out to play. And you're talking about a defense that was 23rd in the country in total defense. Louisville is going to be one of these surprise teams on the college level. And I'm hoping that Brent Key, even though you went 4-4 last year, you better be ready to play early coming out of the gates against Louisville in the Mercedes-Benz Dome on Friday night.
We will see, man. We will see. But let's talk about the Ramblin' Wreck with Georgia Tech. Last year, we know this team, like I said, overall not an awful season by any means necessary. 5-7, 4-4 in the ACC. Not the dominance they had back in the late 2000s, early 2010s. But it seems like they're building a better culture over there. Head coach Brent Key. But, man, they got some work to do. Mostly the offense. The offense, it was ice cold, Vincent, last year. They had trouble putting up points. Averaged 17.2 per game, 127th in the nation. 117th in total yards, 109th in passing yards, 93rd in rushing yards. I mean, this team, it was not the funnest to watch if you're a big fan of offense. But you're hoping that can change coming into this year because you got a brand new guy under center coming over, as we know, from Texas A&M. His name is Haynes King. So, like I said, he's got a lot of potential around this kid. And I think that he's going to thrive in this Georgia Tech system. It's going to be something that, obviously, Georgia Tech hasn't had in I don't remember how long, Vincent. A quarterback who can throw the ball deep, who's efficient, and who's just overall it seems like a really good guy, great player. And I'm excited to see how he is going to be rolling with Georgia Tech this year is Haynes King. Looking at the rest of this offense, though, like I said, passing offense last year, dead last in the ACC. They only scored 16 points 5 times or more. And then, of course, those were the 5 wins. They scored those 16 points. So I think we're going to see definitely, I wouldn't say knockdown, lights out, tremendous offense, but I think we're definitely going to be seeing a better showing than that. Look at some of the rest of the players on this team, though. You got Trey Cooley, running back, who, as we all know, helped out Louisville a couple years ago. So we know what he knows this team pretty well. And also come back with 4-year vet Dante Smith. So I think the running back core is looking solid there. And I think if you look at this Georgia Tech wide receiving core as well, you got DJ Moore, you got Dominic Blaylock coming on over, helping out from the University of Georgia, kind of towed that line and said, hey, he's going to be helping out. Also, Christian Leary, who's coming over from Alabama from the Crimson Tide, going to help out the offense as well at the receiving core. Flipping over defense, like I said, defense wasn't the best last year either. Vincent, it was the worst in the nation against the run. So I think that's something you got to fix this year. But you are having some guys, some transfers you got coming over, and Braylon Oliver from Minnesota, and of course Andre White at Texas A&M. So those two guys, those are the two stars you got to lock your eyes on if you are Louisville. Know where they're at all times because they're going to be probably the top tacklers on this team. They're going to be helping out, and it's going to be interesting to do. Like I said, you're losing Keon White, who got drafted to the Patriots. So we'll see what they can do on this defense side of the ball. The secondary should be pretty solid. I think the secondary is going to be the strong suit for the Georgia Tech defense. You have some tremendous player, of course, with Daquan Dossier. He's not the biggest guy all around, but he's got a good presence all with him. Micaiah Scott, also you're picking up Clemson transfer. It's Enosa Rubin, also Lamiles Brooks. Like I say, you're looking really well here. So I think the defense is going to be the strong point for this team early on. But I expect, honestly, Vince, I expect Haynes King to have a tremendous week one showing and really just to give the Georgia Tech fans just a glimpse of hope that, man, look, this offense can do something this year. We're not going to be stuck in the cellar. We're going to get it rolling. But also a big thing for defense, like I mentioned, you got to stop the run. So those are my keys to the game for Georgia Tech. Mr. Turner, what are your thoughts on Georgia Tech if they want to get the win tomorrow night?
I'm going to say this about Georgia Tech. I moved here in 1996 from Memphis, Tennessee, and I started following the Georgia Tech program. And I think right now it's I'm not going to say the lowest of the lowest, but I just cannot imagine Georgia Tech is falling on hard times where they can't have winning seasons. Then I look at the fact that they've had great players. I'm going to start. They had a quarterback by the name of Joe Hamilton. Joe, how you doing this evening? They finished second in the Heisman back in the early 1900s. And, back in the late 1900s. And then I'm looking overall the success they had under Paul Johnson. Even though he was running a gimmick offense, they was getting the bowl games. They played in 2 Orange Bowls?
I believe so.
And I'm just thinking, you in Metro Atlanta, one of the greatest recruiting areas in all of high school football. This area, people don't realize that in the Metro Atlanta area, don't you know it's 150 high school recruits signed major D1 scholarships? Now, we're talking about D1. We're not even talking about FBS schools. So I'm trying to ask myself, how is Georgia Tech falling on so much hard times? I thought the hire with Jeff Collins was a decent hire. I know what Coach Collins was trying to do, but at the end of the day, you got to have a situation where you bring in high-level quality talent, and it starts at the quarterback position. Haynes King, 4-star recruit, started over there at Texas A&M, made 6 starts as a true freshman, over 1,220 yards, 7 touchdowns, 6 INTs. He won the starting job here recently in the fall, but the thing that worries me, Mr. Landers, he lost his job. He lost his job. So that's, to me, if you couldn't start at Texas A&M, then, okay, how do I supposed to look at that? Then I'm looking at Georgia Tech. You brought up the numbers. Offensively, let's face reality here. There was the worstest team in college football offensive-wise. But the playmakers, Christian Leary, who they brought over from Alabama. You mentioned Dominique Blaylock. Chase Lane from Texas A&M. You know what they got to do for me? The keys to Louisville on tomorrow night. They got to make plays. They got to be playmakers. Then I'm looking at it from a defensive side standpoint. You was the worstest team in the country. You gave up 186 yards on the ground, even though you had Keon White, who's now going to probably be starting for the New England Patriots. But you brought in 2 linebackers. You know, Braylon Oliver, you know, Mr. Landers is from Douglasville.
I'm about to say, putting in some work for us out there.
Your rival, Mr. Landers, went to Alexander. Mr. Oliver went to Chapel Hill.
Yep.
Played 4 good seasons with Minnesota. Andre White, Texas A&M, outstanding football player. Those guys are going to play a very key part in the middle of teams running the football on them. And Louisville has Mr. Jordan, who's a hell of a football player. Then you're looking at the secondary. Lamiles Brooks is a player. Jalen King is a player. And Miles Simmons is a player. And Keontae Watson is a player. But let me tell you something, as I just mentioned about Louisville, The receiving core they bringing in, Mr. Callaway, Mr. Coleman, and Mr. Thrash, I wouldn't be surprised they're going to play in the NFL one day. All I'm going to say is this. I'm picking Louisville tomorrow. I'm going to say 24-14. But Mr. Brent Key, you did an outstanding job going 4-4 last year. You played offensive lineman. Matter of fact, you was a starting offensive guard when Joe Hamilton was the quarterback. But I'm going to say this. As I ended the day, my Georgia Tech Louisville analysis and keys to the game. Coach Key, the honeymoon is over.
Oh, man. Hey, like I said, we will see very soon. Like I said, this game is going to be taking place tomorrow night, so we just got to wait a little bit longer. I'm going to go with a little bit of an upset in this one. I'm going to go with Georgia Tech getting the win at home in this ball game, but I got to be in close. I got this one being a 3-point game. Give me Georgia Tech 20 and give me Louisville 17. Yes, I think a field goal will be the deciding factor in this week 1 matchup. Give me Georgia Tech in this one, starting off the year strong. But we want to hear from you, the fans. Who's going to win this ball game taking place tomorrow night, 7:30 sharp? Is it going to be Georgia Tech? Is it going to be Louisville? We want to hear in the comments on our Facebook, our YouTube channel. Once again, we appreciate you coming out, supporting the channel, liking, commenting, sharing, subscribing. It means the world to us. Mr. Football, Vincent Turner, always a pleasure talking some college football with you each and every single week. It's a pleasure. Like I said, I've been your host and producer tonight, Logan Landers. Enjoy the rest of your night, everyone. Enjoy some college football, and we'll talk to you again on another live episode.